We're fighting a war out here. You sure you're up for it?
We have to look out for each other. It's all we got.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ben Plays. I'm Kevin McAllister, Community Manager here at Ben Studio, and with me we have a brand new guest, Alex Wells, Senior Environment Artist. Alex, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Good.
Doing good.
I'm happy you're here. This is your first time on stream, which you were just telling me right beforehand. It's like, I'm used to being on the other side of the screen.
Yeah.
Right? Like all
Very
of our
much always in Twitch chat.
Yeah, like all of our friends right now in chat, which all of them are very nice. So we're lucky. We have a really great community. Not gonna lie, everyone, I'm a little flustered. I had to drive in snow to get here, and then I had a deadline at 5. I had to finish, and then had to run in here and get it all set up. But we've got this.
Yeah.
We're gonna play Days Gone. We're gonna talk about Days Gone. We're continuing our Breaking Down Days Gone live stream series. If you have not been with us through our past 3 now, it's a brand new live stream series that we've been doing to kind of wrap with our Ben Studio 30th anniversary. And we've been taking developers that worked on Days Gone, bringing them on, and breaking down a specific part of what they worked on in Days Gone. So our first episode, we had our game director, Ron Allen. I love Ron. He's such an awesome guy. He did the old sawmill. We brought on Katie Scott to talk about art. Brought on Philip Wilson last month to talk about ambush camps, and now we have Alex on today. And Alex, what are we talking about tonight?
A lot about buildings and layout.
Yeah, a lot of buildings, and it's fascinating to me. One, as I was kind of prepping for the stream, like, there are a lot of buildings in this game.
There are roughly, hard to get an exact number, but roughly over 300 buildings.
300 buildings. And that was done between, like, what, 3 different people?
Yeah, 3 people. It grew and shrank a little bit over the course of the development of the game, but it was mostly just the 3 of us.
That's impressive. We have such a cool team here. All right, everyone. I'm supposed to remember stuff to tell you. What is up, chat? Hi, how are you all? Yes, I am perfectly representing Ben today with my beanie, beard, and flannel. I've completely embraced the Ben life, all right? I'm here. If you have not seen any of our Breaking Down Days Gone episodes, they are on youtube.com/Ben Studio under its own playlist, and you can go, feel free, and catch up on those. We also just had Ben at Night, episode 4 drop last week. I think it was last week. Time is crazy right now. And that is on programming. So make sure you can check that out also on youtube.com/Ben Studio. All right. So today, what are we doing? We're going to kind of play it like we've done the previous Breaking Down Days Gone. And we're going to do almost like a virtual tour of Days Gone. We have a kind of a map laid out. We're going to go from point to point to point. And at these certain spots, Alex is then going to go ahead and talk about his work and the things he's just done. We also have some early designs and things to show you. And you know what? Before we actually get into it, because I like to kind of, I'm a sucker for like behind the scenes stuff. I love seeing it. I love seeing a game come together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you a couple different designs from Alex's archives that he found, which, you know, we released Days Gone 5 years ago, so thank you for finding those.
I was surprised I had anything on there.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and show you a couple of these and just kind of imagine for a second, okay, this is kind of where it started and where it's going to go. We might flick back through these designs, certain parts, but just kind of want to kick it off and be like, hey, you know, sometimes this stuff starts very, very early on. So here we go with the first one here. And it's Tumult. That's, you know, what are we looking at here, Alex?
So this was an early test level where I was just gathering essentially all the buildings and props that I had got to make for Tumult. Since we are a small team, we did all those other like smaller props and banners and stuff, and they're all stuff that was lucky enough to get to make as well. And a couple of those you would actually see are pretty much unchanged from what's in the final game now, like the Chateau sign and the Burger Mart, which has my awesome handwriting on the back.
That's great.
Which even in real life, that they've since changed their sign, but the building it was kind of based on had like that, like very much hand painted, and my handwriting is terrible. So I was like, it just lines up perfectly.
Yeah, so we're gonna flick through a couple of these here, and like I said, we'll probably stop back more. But here is just gray blocks of barns.
A lot of barns. Because when we would essentially create our kits, we would have essentially a level that was just its own like kind of sectioned off from the open world, where we could put all these modular pieces together and kind of, so you could just open it up and be like, okay, all of my barns are here. Do I need to go and make a fix for something? So you could just kind of have it all in nice one condensed spot.
Yeah. And then even we'll kind of piggyback off of Phil's time with us last time and go over like some of the bunkers and stuff that you had a hand in, and then go over some even more interiors of a barns and kind of like what's this thing in particular. What's the purpose of this? Are you looking at like what you're trying to figure out to do on the interior of
just
it?
essentially just making sure the lighting's working correctly. I'm pretty sure when I took this screenshot, it was just like this into my leads, just this is how these are starting to come along after a while, and just preservation as well.
Yeah,
Times like these where you're just like, hey, time to go back and look at some old stuff.
So there's a little sneak peek there of just some of the things we're going to kind of talk about and go over as we play. So, are we ready? Are you ready?
Very ready.
Good. Let's do this. We're going to play Days Gone, and we have Alex, our senior environmental and environment artist, to talk about his work and about Days Gone. So let's get to it. All right, so here we are. We are at the Tumult Community College here. It's a nice sunny day here in Oregon, in virtual Oregon, not actual real life Oregon. Right now it's just
very much snow,
very
ice
snowy
everywhere.
right now. Oh, and and this is how we're going to start, because we can't just have a nice relaxing, hey, let's look at some buildings.
The danger it always comes for you.
Yep.
You never know.
All right, now please step away, Wolf. We have things to do. All right, Alex. So Tumult Community College, you have a hand in this. What exactly did you do here?
Essentially, every building that you see here was created by me. The materials and stuff are obviously goes through the whole team. Us on the building team exactly didn't get to create every material in the game. I was lucky I did get to create a few, like some of the woods you saw on the pillars you walked by there that were like the more rounded with silver on there. Also did help work with design, for the vast majority of the layout and helping them get the different states in, because there is when you're first going in, there's parts that are blocked off, and eventually, more people come in, they blow down gates, so then those get opened up down. And so, making sure all that worked well together.
So you mentioned building kits a little bit earlier. What exactly is a building kit?
Yeah, great question. That is pretty much like we make Lego pieces, essentially. So each building is made out of usually a couple hundred different pieces depending on the kit. This one was made with more like retail kind of public facing kind of those kind of things versus like a house, which would have different dimensions, a little bit smaller pieces and stuff. But yeah, essentially we're just putting together Legos and then merging those pieces together to create the one-off buildings you're seeing here.
So as I'm kind of, scanning this area and seeing all these different buildings, and then between these buildings you have like tents and stuff. Now are those layouts you as well, or is that another part of the team that's kind of, I guess, trying to create that immersion between these buildings?
Definitely a mixture. On some POIs, this one included, I did get to work with design a bit more. I always liked getting my hands in there and essentially almost begging, like, hey, can I lay out some of these spaces, just because it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I did get to work on a lot of the layout and placing some of the tents in here, but design's also, of course, going through and they're massaging things, making sure cover and the nav mesh and everything's working appropriately.
And you had a part in some of the interior of these buildings as well?
Yep. When we work on the buildings, we'll get, at least on every building, we'll be in charge of all the layouts, where all the props are going and stuff, and that'll usually expand out to a little bit of a bigger area outside of the building where it'll transition to like other designers or world building artists, unless if you're someone like me who wants to just keep designing things.
Yeah.
If allowed, I will.
So what's kind of the collaborative effort here between environment artists and designers when, specifically this one where it's an actual story mission you have to go through?
That was really fun because a lot of the fun part of making the Days Gone world was that Art actually got to go through and we essentially arted up a lot of the world first before design went through and started adding in all of their little details and stuff. So while we were still keeping them informed of everything that we were doing and the layouts that we wanted to have, we essentially got to put in a base layout of this college before there was any like mission or story stuff kind of going on there. And then it just kind of got modified and back and forth and massaged as the story came online.
I always like this mission. It's the one with Sarah. You're kind of going through, and it's just, the Tumult Community College is always, it's kind of one of those areas in Days Gone that sticks out to me. So yeah. Oh, and chat, if you have any questions for Alex, please make sure you drop them into the chat. And at the end of the stream, we'll go ahead and pile those up and ask him. So thank you. All right. And yes, I saw someone said earlier about the siphon filter bike skin. Yes, we do. It's the Ben Studio 30th anniversary, so I had to equip that. All right. So we're gonna kind of move on from there and go to the Tumult town, which is somewhere around here. Do you remember where it's at?
Slightly more to the right, kind of in a little bit of that.
It's this one here, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead in there, and that's kind of where we'll see what we showed earlier with the eat sign, and actually is pretty one-to-one for real life. I was just there. I've been there a couple times, but when I first arrived at Tumult, I'm like, this is literally Days Gone.
Yeah, it's a very, very small town. It's just like you drive. It's one of the best representations I think we have in our game of like what that town actually feels like in Oregon, because it's just very small, straight. You just go through it, and then you're gone.
So you said earlier there's roughly 300 buildings in Days Gone, and that's a lot. That's huge in this type of big open world. Now, did you have somewhat of a hand in every single building, or did you have specific like regions you kind of had your hands in? How does that work? Split up between the three people.
Yeah, between us, it was me, Dylan Rainville, and another artist named Dan Quinn. Dan handled a lot of the residential buildings. I handled a lot of the like commercial buildings, and Dylan was handling a lot of the like secondary residential buildings and some more of the bigger one-off buildings like Iron Mike's and stuff. But we still all would essentially trade off depending on who is working on what and like just how their workload was. So I've worked on a number of smaller houses. Other people have worked on some commercial things. So it was nice to kind of, while we had a focus, and kind of like that person was like the master of like the rules for like what should go on in like a commercial style building. Like we still got to work on a variety of things.
Okay. So yeah, there's this kind of famous Eat building, which is in real life as well. So every time I go past it, I take a picture, even though I've taken pictures multiple times. It's just one of those things. We have is the Burger Mart that way?
Behind you.
Behind this way, right?
Yeah, past the broken bridge a little bit.
Let's go hop on the bike here. So we have, there's the Eat sign, and then we'll show the Burger Mart sign, which there's an actual burger place as well in real life that looks kind of sketchy, Alex.
That Liberty Motel sign you just drove by, too, is actually in Bend, not in Tumult, but that's based off of the place we have here on 3rd Street.
Yeah, so there is a motel, and see, no one, just leave us alone.
That last-minute dodge.
Yeah, there's a hotel there in Tumult, but you all took kind of the
we
liberty,
liked that. The more colorful side
Yeah.
that was here in Bend.
which is actually in Bend, that we drive by all the time, and it's kind of cool. All right, and here is the famous Burger Mart, and that's your handwriting, huh?
Yes, that was my lovely handwriting.
That's
Didn't have
awesome.
to try to make it look bad at all. That's just how it came out.
So if we kind of go into here, get it focused. So here is the actual in-game, right? And then we go to kind of one of your early, I guess, designs, right? And
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah, circa. I think that image was like around 2015 or so. So pretty far behind.
2015, yeah.
Pretty far behind when we actually launched the game.
So now in this picture, are you like, what exactly is your role here? Because it looks like it still needs to have some textures and stuff on these buildings. Are you just trying to figure out like exactly what's going to go into the world?
Yeah, and just kind of gathering, what are all the things we need to make Tumult feel like Tumult, and kind of just getting that all together in one scene.
Yeah. So there we go. Early. That's from 2015. So 4 years before Days Gone launched, and then to the final product, which is there. Game development, folks. Game development. It's crazy.
Yeah, not a lot of changes, which was surprising with this building.
Yeah. That's funny. Now, how about, so even when it comes to like gas prices and stuff, like this one. Now, is that something that you just wrote down?
Yeah, that was just completely out there. Like, we need a high number for what would people freak out about?
Now, is that something like you have to talk with, narrative or creative about that? Or is that you just kind of take the liberty of like, I'm just going to make this super high?
Usually, yes. This one, I think I just kind of made it really high, and everyone was like, that's good. That's a good number. That seems about right.
And the mini mart, I think, is an actual real life sign too, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's also one of the few things I actually got to like make materials and textures for, because we did have a dedicated material artist, but a couple of things I got to do. It was always
Okay.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit of recap if you're just now joining us. We have Alex Wells, Senior Environment Artist, on with us today as we're doing Breaking Down Days Gone Part 4, talking about building layouts and building kits in the open world. For Days Gone, you were actually an environment artist, correct?
Yes, started
Yes.
here as a contract environment artist, and kind of.
So how long, that's what I forgot. How long have you been at Ben's studio now?
That is a good question. October 2013 is when I first started.
October 2013. Wow. So it's, geez, what year are we in? 2024.
2024.
11 years?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's getting to be a long time.
Yeah. So as, was this your first game industry job?
Yes. Prior to this, I was a cashier at Target, so this,
No way.
straight from retail to here.
So that's funny. Like, so how did you make that jump? I mean, I came from warehouse customer service to here, so I'm totally with you. But curious, yeah, just how did you make that jump?
Similar with our mutual friend Eric Jensen, who no longer works here.
Oh yeah, that guy. He's dead to me. Yep.
Yeah, I was on Twitter posting my portfolio just everywhere, trying to get a job, and he happened to see it and forwarded it along, and got very lucky that I was able to get a contract, and I didn't annoy people enough, and they decided to keep me around.
Hey, yeah. That's what I've tried to do, not to annoy people enough,
That's my main goal, just not be too annoying, and people will like you.
That's awesome, though. It shows the importance of the benefits of social media. Can be a lot of cons, but there's also a lot of benefits, and the importance of, if you're looking to get into the gaming industry, network with people in the gaming industry, right? Like, those are the people that are already in, that can help provide tips, help you kind of get your foot in the door. Mm-hmm. That's kind of one of my biggest tips, is just, hey, if you know people in the industry, start networking with them, ask them advice, ask them questions, how you can improve your skill set and your portfolio to get a job in the industry, as entry level, and then work your way up. So yeah, that's cool. I don't think I actually knew that. That's how you
Nice.
started.
Yeah. Yeah, I was very happy to get out of retail. Was good enough for a while I was there,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Retail
glad
sucks.
glad to be making art now. It's good.
So we visited Tumult Community College. We went to Tumult Town, which is also where Horde is at. But apparently I've already taken out. Now we're heading to Wizard Island. Do a quick little pit stop. We're going to need some fuel. But also, Alex had a little hand in this part as well. And we'll go over that, which we're almost here now. So yeah, little insight yesterday. I was trying to just find this map of like routes to take to go to all these points that you worked on and talked about. And it was just kind of nice, just kind of exploring the world again and finding these places. And then like, oh, it's almost second nature. I know exactly where that's at. I don't really have to pull up the mini map.
It's like got it all memorized.
Yeah, exactly. Here, we'll grab some fuel real quick. All right, Alex. We're at Wizard Island. What exactly did you have a hand in here?
So this one was a little bit smaller compared to like the college, but I did all the like the tent you see directly in front of you where Deacon can go and like sleep and change
Yep.
time. Pretty much all the tents that were of that style I created the modular pieces for and kind of put them together, and also did all the like population of the props and everything like that in there. There was originally a lot more population and more tents. I think like you can only go into a couple of those.
Yep.
Unfortunately, a couple of the interiors had to get all that stuff pulled out just due to performance issues. Wizard Island's one of our most intensive areas in the
Right.
game.
There's a lot going on this island.
Yeah. So it's just a lot to load in, but I was still glad we got to keep a couple of those, like Deacon's tent and Sarah's tent.
Yeah.
Baker's tent.
So with these tents, there's actually a collectible in there. Where did those come from? Like who puts the collectible in there? Is that any type of collaboration between like
Yeah, we would work with the narrative team on like making sure we have an appropriate spot for everything, or if
Okay.
they have a collectible that like that we didn't know about, we could go and like make a space specifically for that.
Yeah, interesting. So you do have kind of some say of like, oh, hey, we can put a collectible in here. And this is where you first meet Sarah.
Yeah. Though she's since moved all of her stuff to
Yep.
inside the cave.
Yeah,
there.
so this is post story.
So that's another thing too, is that we would have to essentially maintain multiple versions of all these tents and buildings because of all the different state changes of people, moving around, props going in and there and stuff.
Yeah. How about anything up in the cone? Did you do anything up there, or is it mainly down here with all kind of to Garrett's like the commoners?
Mainly down here. I did do the tent at the main like Colonel's tent that's like up the very, very top.
Okay.
But all the cave system and everything inside was done by several other awesome world building artists.
Nice. And how about over here? Like, so in the story, at the end, Boozer drives a truck through. Spoilers, but you should have played this game by now. Drives the truck through and kind of burns it all down here. Now, who's kind of in charge of like this here? And it, post story, there's nothing. It's just this now.
Yeah, that was me and a little bit of the world building team as well, just going back and forth depending on just who was working on what at the time. But I've definitely had a pretty big hand on like placing a lot of the debris or adjusting collision volumes around some of the debris because you don't want the player to get up on top of those and get stuck on things.
Okay. Yeah.
Most of the tents, it's a little weird. We had essentially make it look like those tents got blown up by Boozer when he drove that truck in there. So there's some metal bits and stuff that we wanted to have in there just because it helps stand out more. But honestly, all the tents are just all wood.
Oh,
Doesn't really makes sense for some of the metal bits, but it's just like we need guff and we need destruction there.
Now, looking at these tents, this is something we mentioned in our first episode of Bend and Night with environment art, that it's kind of no secret that game developers reuse assets, right? It's part of development. But like right here, you see a couple of the green ones, but for the most part, all the tents kind of look different. And now do you have like a hand in that as well? To kind of like, hey, we want to make sure there's this white tent here and a green tent here.
Yeah, we definitely had the ability of like we could place an instance of a prop essentially, and then we could color that instance, like tint it essentially whatever we would need, so we could still, while it's still the same prop, we could still make it look different enough where that way when we're duplicating it around, it kind of feels like it's not the same tent
Right.
all the time.
Yeah, like this little area here is pretty crowded. Now, this is post-story, so, it's kind of empty here. Like, especially as we get up here where, like, the obstacle course is and stuff like that. No one's doing anything because Garrett is dead. and we won. So there's no crazy lieutenants and stuff yelling at the people here.
Yeah, just casual, gardening, people being happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoying their lives.
They're living the best life. We got Baleseline literally turned off Days Gone to come watch the stream. See, that's a Days Gone Friday night that right there, and that's beautiful.
A quick note, as you're like just driving by, you'll notice all the like logs are very close together, kind of surrounding Wizard Island, so you can't see through them. Originally, we had more gaps and stuff, but just kind of needed to close those up a bit just to help with, once again, performance. Closing in that draw distance so that way you don't have to render quite as much outside.
Interesting.
Of the lake.
So even something like that of taking these logs here and putting them together improves performance of the game itself.
Yeah, because while it did look nice of having the gaps and then like having some like light and stuff, shine through that, it was just, any little bit of geometry on the other side that you can see, that means like that has to be rendered. So,
see, that's fascinating, and that's what I always love, like bringing on you experts with me, because these are things that the normal player just doesn't realize, right? Like putting these things together creates a better performance of Days Gone. You space them apart, and it affects the gameplay and stuff. And
it's such a minor thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like I learned something today too. That's amazing. All right, Alex, any parting words of Wizard Island before we ditch this place?
No, just it's an awesome island.
It is.
It is home of the biggest draw distances I think we have in the game, which is cool.
Oh, really?
If you stand from like one edge of like the crater to the other looking across,
yep.
It's part of why it's such a heavy performance area.
Yeah.
Normally there's a lot more mountains, hills, and things that
right.
are kind of in the way, but this one we really wanted to make sure you can get the whole breadth of it, just kind of like in real life.
Nice. Yeah, if you ever have a chance to visit Crater Lake in real life, this is an actual place. You must do it. It's incredible. It will literally leave you speechless. It's one of my favorite spots that I've ever seen in real life. So it's beautiful. There it is. Woo. All right. So what's up, Ripper Ryan? How are you? Welcome to the stream. All right. So now I went the wrong way, so we got to turn around. I even put the marker down and everything. But I can go around Wizard Island here. No, I can't. We have to go back through it. So we're going to see it one more time. We're not going to say bye to it quite yet because we love it that much.
Take a nice leisurely drive.
Yeah. Just one more look at it, all right? I was meant to do this. It's fine. It's all according to plan. But after we get through this Wizard Island, we're going to go up and over the Tealson Pass, which I always find any excuse to go over that pass. It's my favorite story moment. I always sing Hell or High Water in my head every time I do it, and it's a nice snowy ride. But we're going to go over that because it'll dump us right down into Cloverdale, the science building.
Yeah. Essentially, science research facility.
The research facility is what I was going for.
Science building works just fine.
And we're going to talk about that. And that's actually, Cloverdale is, I think, the first time that I, quote unquote, met you online. When I was the crazy Days Gone fan, sharing all kinds of photo mode shots. Mm-hmm. And I shared some photos of Cloverdale. And you're like, hey, I worked on that. I don't know why I remember that so clearly, but I do.
I do too. I was just happy
Really?
someone just taking pictures of stuff that I worked on.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, it doesn't look bad. People like it.
Yeah.
That's good.
I love I actually really love this building just because it feels so much different than everything else in the world. Because it's, it's kind of that modern look. It's clean. It's not ran down by the outbreak. It was untouched, right? So once you get to this point and you're in the story, it's just kind of like almost like refreshing almost.
Yeah, it's nice because everything else is just always so dirty and kind of run down.
Yes.
And you have here this place
Right.
that's pretty much pristine.
Yeah. So we're gonna we might drive by a couple buildings or so, but once we get to Tealson Pass, there's literally not a single building because it's just you're going over a pass and it's snowy and stuff.
Until then, though, I actually saw a question from Eric in chat asking
cool.
about scale of game architecture and what we do to determine, what plays well.
Yeah.
Kind of go in a little bit about that.
Yeah, go ahead. Feel free.
Of all the buildings we kind of go through, we kind of have to work with design to essentially standardize all of the windows, doors, any kind of openings that are like squeezeways and stuff while we're making these modular kits. So we're working very close with design to make sure that things are playing well because, things like doors, especially windows and doors, they're usually bigger in games. Almost always you'll see the doors usually towering a person. And while ours aren't quite as big, we still you have to make sure there's room for the camera and things aren't going to get clipped through. We also have the horde, so you have to be able to run through the door and turn around and have room to shoot and see them pile through. So it's something that ended up being very important and something that we had to change a couple of times during development to get it right. Because sometimes things would just feel a little bit too tight. Animations could clip through if you're jumping through a window.
Right.
So there's a couple of times in development we did have to do a mass, essentially redoing all of our work on doors and windows on all the buildings to get it to fit right.
Yeah.
Which can be a little bit of a task because we did have to, like I mentioned earlier, we had a level essentially for each building where we could go in and make changes to it because the modular pieces aren't what's in the actual world. We would actually merge those down so it was easier to stream in.
Okay. Yeah.
So anytime we would need to the doors are a little bit too small for gameplay, so then we would have to go through all 300 plus of those levels, make sure the door's been re-imported, re-merge that back down, make sure that gets tested in game and is working okay, because sometimes things can happen when you're merging buildings. Collision can get weird,
Right.
Materials can get thrown off, and you could have a roof material on a wall by accident when you're going through that process. So it's very important, but good to get it solidified.
Yeah. So I actually took a little wrong way, but this is the building where Deacon and Sarah spend the night on their way back from Cloverdale. I never actually noticed these graves here. That's sad. And it's also the first time I've recognized freakers up here.
There's usually not too many around this stuff.
Right?
He was determined to find you.
Yeah, exactly. Now I feel like I'm just going the wrong way. So we're going to eventually get down this thing. I took the wrong way, but then I wanted to see the building. Because that was actually a moment that I got really excited about when Deacon and Sarah spent the night there. Because up until that point, they were kind of really weird with each other. And that was the first time it's they kind of joined together. And I'm I literally remember myself clapping in my living room at nighttime. My wife probably thought I was weird, but hey.
So it makes sense. I mean, she's being watched by people.
Yeah.
Stuff, so she doesn't want to give away her relationship.
Exactly.
It's also the shock of just oh, my husband's still alive.
Yep.
I thought he was dead. So it's definitely nice to just see them act hey, they're they do love each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they could finally be themselves, right, without anyone around. Okay, I did find my way down, so mission accomplished there. We're almost at Cloverdale because this kind of drops you right off there. And now it's getting nighttime on us, so freakers are going to start coming out, which is why I think we saw so many over there at the Tealson Pass. Dead Bun in 030, what is up? How are you? Here we go, Cloverdale Research Iron Butte Facility. See, it was a research facility.
Yeah, lots of research going on.
Yep. Does this open?
No, you got to
Oh,
use
yeah.
the little,
I gotta-
little squeeze way off to the side.
What is up, everyone? Hey, Bubs, how are you doing? All right, Cloverdale. You reach this into the story where there's food here, and it's like, oh shit, there's food, and you have all the criers kind of flying out, and you start piecing together these pieces where these cars have people that were just trying to escape and they wouldn't let them. But yeah, so here we go with Cloverdale. So exactly what did you have? What did you have your hands in for this one?
Ooh, a lot. You actually mind if I run around during this part?
Yes,
Yeah.
feel free. Alex now has the sticks.
So yeah, this was one of the few buildings that was like really important for the story. So we actually had a rough like block out from design, because a lot of the times we would just be like, oh, we want a building of this type, and then can kind of go off of it. But we actually had designers kind of rough out what they wanted in the shape and stuff. So we had like the two very almost famous like bug eye windows out front. So I always see like a weird just bug face between those two and the opening right there. But I love them.
Next Bike One says, this is my favorite building. Favorite part of the game as well, they say.
And just, yeah, we had a rough shape of everything, but I had a lot of control over things that were going on inside. So I got to like, break up of the carpet between the tile, things like making sure it's a silly thing, but almost all of our buildings have bathrooms in them. And that's something that we made sure to, just like that was a dedicated like buildings. It makes it feel more real. It makes it feel more grounded when it's like, well, where are people going to the restroom? It's like you kind of have to have them, even if they're not always like the size they should be, or like,
Right.
This is a big facility. Probably should have more bathrooms, but at least we always have at least one.
Makes sense.
And making all these little planters and stuff for just like, they research plants and all these other things here, so it makes sense for them to have all this stuff
Yep.
around here. Breakable glass, which we don't have very often in the game, but it's something we did want to have since it's a big action scene here. So this is one of my favorite. This little area is just one of the favorite things I got to work on, just because it just looks really cool. You have the nice little lights coming up, reflecting on the wood.
So now for that, did you you put in those lights and everything there, or how does that all work?
Usually, yeah, lighting would usually go through and put the lights in themselves. This is one of the ones where I kind of was all like, hey, this would be really nice if we had this like this, and kind of put those there intentionally, just because I don't even think when you're doing the mission, it might only be during the day, so I don't even think you see them glowing that much. But when you come back at night, it's still very, very, very fun looking.
Is that Rent-A-Cop Jim there? He's sitting back there when yep, there he is. Rent-A-Cop Jim.
Just just chilling.
Yep.
Just sleeping. There's nothing wrong with him.
He's sleeping. He's fine. But when you were talking about the bathrooms, of like ensuring there's a bathroom in every place, like right there, you're not really, as a player, you're playing the game, you're not really thinking about it, right? Because it's almost like you're immersed in the game. This game is very grounded, and you see the bathroom, and subconsciously they're, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think if there wasn't a bathroom, people are like, I think that kind of loses that immersion.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, players would pick it up. Like, where are they going to the bathroom?
Yeah, and just a lot of prop building and stuff in here too is very important. Just making sure it feels lived in.
Yeah.
Like there's people that were like held up in here for a long time, not really leaving this premise, because why would they?
So like props, is that the props people like that are placing the guitars, the cups, the books?
Mostly just us building people, if it's in a building or the world builders world. A lot of our smaller props and stuff ended up getting outsourced, so it's just usually up to like the world builder or the person that owns that space to kind of place them in there. We did do some props in-house, like actually these little barriers for like offices and stuff were done in-house too, actually based on barriers we had in our first office before we moved into this current building.
That's awesome. Evolution Pixel says, I'm going to be checking for bathrooms in this building now. I'm actually very happy you're kind of taking control here and going over this, because this building is even a lot more detailed than I imagined.
Yeah. Oh, very, very foggy now back here too. Now that we're at night.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw. Never played this mission in the night. Yeah, so you can just access this building post story whenever you want, or even through the story after that point.
After that point.
So yeah, so if it's nighttime, come here and you can fully explore everything.
Yeah. And we got to work on all of these. Like, I built out all these railings from working with design, making sure that like they work with gameplay. We had to kind of make up of these little, almost like barriers to keep the player from jumping over them, because you don't want them getting like stuck on weird things. It's also technically, I think, a fall that would like hurt you. And since we want them to focus just on combat, we had to come up with little creative solutions to kind of keep the player on the intended path.
Yeah.
So it's very much wanting to like come down the stairs, take cover,
Right.
and start plowing your way forward.
So how long does creating like a building kit take?
A really long time.
Yeah.
The commercial building that like this, Cloverdale and the community college are both made out of the same kit essentially, because that was like for like just larger commercial and retail buildings. It had a little over 200 something pieces together.
Wow.
Which is a decent amount. Some of the residential buildings would have even more, just because you get different roof pitches, or just once you get into those and you are, a single roof has like split up between like 30 different pieces, then you're going to need that for like a 12 pitch angle or 24 pitch. And it's just like, it just keeps multiplying every time you want to get something more and more. Yeah. Showing just like, the doors are there a little big, but they definitely help with gameplay as you're running through, because, you don't want this camera getting stuck above or next to things. So
Right. Is that kind of like, maybe not the rule of thumb, but you want to make the doors slightly bigger than they should be?
Yeah. I feel like it's very rare to find a game that doesn't have them kind of enlarged.
Yeah.
If they don't, it definitely sometimes will feel awkward at times when you're going through and you're just trying to push your way through a door. Or even if, another NPC is like standing there, then that can be very, very frustrating trying to get through it.
Now, how about the sirens that go off in Cloverdale during the mission and they just won't shut up? Was that something that buildings also put together?
That was definitely on a design. I will not take credit for the siren. We did have to place them, but design was definitely a request of the mission of like, sub-objective, go through and can shoot all those off.
Yeah, they were very annoying. So loud. Even it makes me funny because at one point Sarah's like, "Would you just shut those things off?"
If we leave out the back way here, because most people don't really explore Cloverdale that much outside of the main mission.
Right. You're kind of going from point A to point B.
I go down here.
It's actually, this is a fairly big space.
It's very, very big. And it was one that I took on kind of early on, so it usually can make me a little anxious as an artist. It's like, oh man, this is a big, big building.
Yeah.
You can kind of see like this here would be like a 4-meter wall piece. So this would be like one wall piece, and then we have secondary 2-meter wall pieces to kind of extend up. All these trim are technically a separate piece that we would lay on top of that. So like, just looking at this corner, this is still like at least like 10, 11 pieces if you include like the railings and stuff.
Wow. So how do you get these like measurements? How do you figure that out? Is it trial and error?
A lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Of, going through, seeing what works, and then going back and having to change that. I think the ladder's on this side. I love this little water tank guy.
I was about to say, is this a water tank?
It's like, where did the ladder go? I know you can climb on it.
Oh, there it is. I've never climbed up this ladder one time.
I don't think most people have. There's literally no reason to do it, but it's like that's where Cloverdale's storing all their water.
Oh, look at that! There.
And I loved just doing this little triangle pattern because it's like it was fun / kind of frustrating figuring out the math of I fell out. Figuring out of the angles that all of it should bend to kind of get that curved shape with the larger metal pieces.
So doing those triangles on top, what type of math are you doing for that?
I don't remember exactly. I remember I had to Google a lot of things to get it right and still
Yeah.
be like modular and snap all together correctly.
Wow. See, kids, do math. It's very important for creating video games.
Super, super important. It is. Math is way more important than you would ever imagine for
Yeah.
video games. It was not my strong point in school, and then definitely had to make it a bit stronger.
Right.
Like, can I zoom out enough on this building? It's going to show a little bit of a mess up I actually did. I don't know if you can see at the very top, it looks like there's almost a hole on that roof to the left side.
Yep.
It's because when we would merge the buildings, we had to actually group all the individual pieces and then run it through a process that merged it down. That is what happens when you miss a singular piece of a roof. But the player can never get up there. You can barely see it with the photo mode.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice till after, like, months after we had shipped, and I was just looking around, and I'm just like, hey, that looks a little weird there. But I figure it's a nice little tidbit of the buildings. You can actually see it on the map, which makes me cry a little bit. There's a tiny little hole right next to it.
That's great. I mean, there's a lot of things throughout development that's kind of hidden from the player, right?
Yeah.
That players don't really notice, but it's kind of like game development tricks to whether that's improving performance or spawning enemies strategically, right? So, yeah, how many people actually saw that little hole on the mini map? If you're all here, now you know.
No. Now more people know.
Yep.
Yeah, it was fun cutting out little bricks. I wish I could have cut out a bit more, but it's also very important for silhouette, just kind of making sure that when people are taking cover, it's not just like straight 90-degree angles. You actually get like some geometry that's poking out.
Okay. So all those bricks, you kind of how do you do that? Is it just like molding them, like sculpting
Essentially,
them? Or?
like you can do some shader stuff where you could essentially push verts out, but with this one in particular, it was like mapping it to essentially like the rectangle shape and cutting out the shapes and re-UVing it, making sure there's no stretching going on.
Yeah. That's very cool. Yeah, this is always my favorite building in the game, but now going over this again and seeing how detailed it is. If you're all playing Days Gone, go check out this building and think of Alex, because it's awesome. It's so detailed and so, like I said earlier, it's modern. It's clean. It's not run down like most of the other things in Days Gone. It's unique, and you can break glass here.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Some glass.
Yeah, some glass, which is fun.
My running head theory is that, maybe these two buildings were like completely separate and then they built the Skyway and they didn't want to, spring for that extra. They're like, we don't need bulletproof glass in the one.
Yeah.
Versus maybe those, but.
It's interesting.
I think after Cloverdale, we wanted to make our way down to Camp Pioneer.
Yep.
Which we can show. Just walk through here really quick. Little electrical room where Deacon turns back on the power, or turns off the fences.
Right. Now these little like circuit boards and stuff here, is that you all as well?
These were outsourced from one of our other studios that we worked with.
Okay.
The studio, but we did have to place them all in here, and then we still had to do. So there's some custom work for this one because none of them had a big obvious gameplay switch for Deacon to kind of go and pull. So we had to kind of create that.
That's cool. Yeah, and also at Cloverdale, if you're kind of exploring it, you also find a siphon filter Easter egg here in that main building.
Yeah, right there.
Yep,
on that desk. Actually.
Right on the desk, and it's talks about the siphon filter virus, and it's probably, besides the bike skin, it's probably the biggest siphon filter Easter egg in the game. Well, and you have Gabe Logan's taser as well.
Yes, which is very, very fun.
Yep.
I don't think we have that equipped right now, do we?
No, I don't think so.
No, we'll tase some people later.
Yeah, and everyone joining us, if you have any questions for Alex, please make sure you drop them in chat. So Kat, my partner behind the Ben Studio name, will go ahead and gather those, and we can answer some of those questions at the end of the stream.
And very small building, but just guard shack to make sure people can't be sneaking in into here.
Right. Beef Freshness. My mind blew when finding that Easter egg. I'm sure it did. Beef Freshness is a big Siphon Filter fan, so that makes sense. No, it is not. It's its own thing. All right, so now we saw Tumult Community College, Tumult Town, Wizard Island, Cloverdale. Now we're going to be heading to Camp Pioneer.
So I was like, you're over here.
Yep, Camp Pioneer is next, which is near Lost Lake. Oh, there's a reacher there.
It's not going to get me.
Oh yeah, I think you got some rippers here. Oh yeah, because I think you have to go through the tunnel. Obviously, a narrow checkpoint I did not clear out on the save file. Which I still have my save file from my very first playthrough of Days Gone, where I continued with like New Game Plus and stuff. I'm just very impressed I kept the save file that long.
That is very impressive.
So it's got the 100%, all the collectibles and everything. What is up, Lady in Red? How are you? Welcome back to the stream.
There we go. Get through the windy ripper.
Yep.
Ripper tunnel. Oh, and a horde. Let's go by you.
Yeah, we're playing on survival difficulty, so creates a little bit more immersive experience with no HUD. You can pull up the HUD temporarily by clicking R3. Here is Camp Pioneer Camp, also another story mission. Oh, and got a little side quest there, trying to rescue somebody.
Oh, and he unfortunately was not rescued.
Trying to rescue him and killed him at the same time. And of course, you can't do anything through Days Gone without some chaos like this.
Like, oh.
But that skill right there, the instant kill, is perfect. Heal, heal.
There
Boom.
we go.
We got the top of the line guns. We have the Chicago Chopper and the BND 150, which is the sniper gun there that you get in New Game Plus. Also a nod to Siphon Filter.
So yeah, these buildings are a good example of more residential-ish type buildings. It's not like people are living here all the time, but it's still more used with a traditional building kit. So things are usually a little bit, smaller, tighter, but you still have to make sure, just in terms of gameplay and things like nav mesh are generating, because you never know in an open world game where people are going to have combat, even if it's not an intended combat spot.
Right.
Someone can still pull a character in here, and the next thing you know, you've got chaos going on. Back room's supposed to be a little medical station for all the kids that are staying there in case they get hurt, fall, or anything like that. Then the front would be more like a, community store kind of to buy snacks and stuff.
Right. So putting together like Camp Pioneer, was there any guidelines of, you have to have a little customer service store?
Yeah, we had kind of like a basics of what we would need for the story, and then there's also a real Camp Pioneer. The layout's very, very different, but there's a real Camp Pioneer here in Oregon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's just more of a general theme we like to take from it, but it was still very nice to be able to point at that and be like, hey, you can go and visit this spot after you've played through it in Days Gone.
I think that's one of the coolest things I've said on the stream before is when I came to move to Oregon, I'm like, oh, this is just a whole another level of immersion. Because now I know all these places from playing Days Gone, but now I'm here in Oregon.
I did do all of these shower curtains. That's the word I'm looking for.
Oh, okay.
Which were fun. There's
did like different patterns and stuff.
Yeah, they weren't originally meant for this because there's also just some general showers and tubs that I made that were one of the few props I got to make like complete do materials and everything for, which was fun.
Yeah.
But was able to reuse a lot of that stuff, and then like the little shower knob and shower head and stuff was all reused from an asset that I had previously made. So it's just nice to being able to, rip things apart, use them in other places.
Yeah.
Just try to be smart with our asset reuse.
Right.
Like these are usually made out of actual, like just normal like buildings that we called hunting cabins that you would just find out random in the forest and stuff. But we only really needed to create a couple of one-off like extra wide doors and not have a roof to make it feel pretty different. It's like, oh, this is where like these kids would probably come out to camp and stuff.
Yeah. I never really even noticed the signs before. Like that one had Wolf Troop, and the other one had like Rock Chuck and Cougar Troop.
Then they each have their own little like, almost like symbol of like something on there. That one has like fishing stuff, and the other one had rowers. And
look at that.
This one's a net of some sort. I don't really know what you would use that for.
Yeah. So when it comes to these fine details, how are they like implemented? Is that coming from the environment artist? Is that from multiple feedback throughout the team?
A mixture of both. We'll get like some feedback of saying like, hey, we could use some more stuff here or there, but by and large, it's just like the environment artist staring at a scene for a very long time, and hoping, like what could be added to this to make it feel a little bit better. One of our few holes in the roof, which go down, get a little animation of Deacon falling through.
Which is, I think, man, you even have the insulation there.
Yeah, which was one of the fun things we tried to get in for all of our damage, because it was a lot of our walls ended up being a little thinner than what we would have. Like we essentially had to establish early on how thick our walls were, and turns out we ended up having more damage in things, and sometimes would make it look a little bit too thin. So we did our best to kind of, fake some of that depth with additional wood boards and stuff that might not have been a part of the original kit piece, to just kind of build it up and kind of make it feel like it actually was part of that interior.
I think, can you go back to that spot for a second?
Yeah.
And look back up, like the attention to detail here with the insulation, and then even just the metal parts connecting the wood, right? Like that's, for a gamer, it might not necessarily be needed, but that extra layer of detail, it makes the world so livable and so immersive, and like just a little thing like that is crazy to see.
That was a big thing for our team, was just making sure things looked like they were appropriately built together.
Yeah.
Like, you can get away with just like shoving geometry into one another sometimes, but just having those actual like clamps and other things of like, even like the UV wood grain is different between these two pieces of wood and then the horizontal one. So like just those little details add up after a while.
Yeah. I've always truly appreciated the attention to detail in Days Gone, and now seeing even more of this, I'm like, man, this is a lot of details I didn't even notice.
Yeah, there was a lot of bugs for things like just like simple things like making sure the wood grain is going the appropriate way.
Yeah.
Versus like this one.
Nader, what is up, Nader? Sorry to see you go, but hope to catch you next time.
But yeah, this POI overall wasn't like one of the hugest ones, but it's still a nice one to like run through. You get a lot of sense of like what was here, what these people used to maybe get up to.
What's up, Jack? How are you? Zero, what is up? How are you doing? Welcome back.
Speaking of little things I got to work on, I'll point out I did all the little light switches and outlets. Very, very early on. It was like one of the third or fourth things I think I did here when I was a contractor. It was like, we just need these little details like that.
Yeah.
And it was just something that ended up not getting like really touched or changed throughout the
That's awesome.
whole development.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's young Alex doing stuff back before I turned old.
Didn't realize you've been here since 2013.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a long time.
It went by really, really fast.
Next month marks 3 years for me. It's the fastest 3 years of my life.
It honestly doesn't feel. It feels like you've been here a while.
Right? It's like I feel like I've been here a while, but also not that long. It's a weird kind of weird space. It feels like you've been here more than that, right?
And yeah, just a lot of time was spent just making sure little details like this just look okay, making sure things are not just, placed very
Right.
evenly. You want to make sure things look like they've been shifted around and like that was actually a lived in
Yeah.
environment.
Little fryers and stuff.
One of the other few materials I got to work on in the game. Just
Nice.
this little floor.
Nice.
Reminds me of very much, you'd see in like the back of like a McDonald's or something
Yep.
like that in their
Yep.
kitchen.
Now, where do you like kind of, how do you figure out what type of floor to use? Is that just, are you researching interior buildings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your Google history search gets very weird, and on YouTube and stuff, where you're just like, it's like half of the music I like, and another half is like construction videos and like house tours and stuff like that. Just all the various research. You end up very knowledgeable in a lot of stuff you didn't really think you would be.
Right. What's up, Shane? How are you? Dr. Pepper, all 15 flavors. Welcome back.
In terms of kit pieces, this is a good example of like, most of the time we try to make sure our pieces are very reusable, so that way, we can use something on a different building, but we will still occasionally need to make one-off pieces like this window right here that was very much like built custom just for this thing. It still connects appropriately to all the kit pieces, but you wouldn't want to like reuse this too often, or else you start seeing that
Right.
style.
Yep. Yeah, because
But
it's pretty unique compared to just, a standard square window.
But having stuff like that is very important just for making certain buildings stand out a little bit more, not feeling like you're just, taking all the same pieces and using them everywhere. Where did our bike go?
I know, just try to whistle it. Whistle it over, Yeah, so after, you know what, you might want to grab that fuel, and that should be some fuel in that tow truck just to fuel back up. We do have the fully upgraded fuel tank, but we've been
just in case.
We've been riding around a lot. But now we're going to be heading to the barn, one of many barns throughout Days Gone, but the one across from Sherman's Camp, which, if you're familiar with Sherman's Camp, it's where a big horde lies. And also it's a challenge in the challenge mode of a pretty much unending horde, depending on how long you can survive.
Fun little thing about that, when we were testing the horde mode for that game, I had a couple of designers and people from QA would come down to my desk because I was just playing through it, and I apparently had broken the score. They weren't expecting people to play it quite as long, so as we were like testing it and stuff, it was kind of fun being able to give
That's
feedback
awesome.
like that. But it was just like very hilarious having a designer come down and just be like, "Are you cheating? Like, what did you do? Like, you're not supposed to be playing that long." And it's like, well, you can if you try really, really hard.
Yep.
Only for a little while. I did have the #1 score for like I think the first week and a half, 2 weeks of launch, and then all the awesome people from our communities quickly overtook that.
Yeah, I didn't last and lose leaderboards much at all. I think I had a chance in Black Friday for a little bit, and immediately everyone just started taking me out. I'm like, okay. The first time I played Days Gone, it was 12 hours straight. Wow, that's awesome.
Whew, that was quite the session.
Yeah.
It's very addictive, though, I understand.
Yep, it is. Woohoo, 92% of the community challenge. So the more you watch this, the more Ben credits you get. And you can take those and put into the community challenge. Community challenge will be a bonus stream from us with a game of your choosing. And if it's... Ooh, big rip.
Did I die, though? No.
Wow, hardcore Deacon.
He doesn't need a helmet or anything. He's just good.
He's Deacon St. John, With a name like that, you don't need a helmet.
I was so confident I can make it by that tree.
I appreciate the effort. Oh, we're at 98,000. We're actually less than 2,000 away from doing a bonus live stream, that's crazy. Oh, and it's complete.
Oh, that is awesome.
Nice. Nomad
Congrats, Jack.
9F. Congratulations, community. You did your first community challenge that we put up this year. We reached 100,000 credits. So thank you all. That means you're watching us a lot because you're getting all those credits and you're putting it in. So starting next week, we'll go ahead and we'll try to put up a poll of a game you want us to play. And if it's like a community type of game like Fall Guys, we can play together. But yeah, we'll make this fun. So good job, everyone. Way to go.
Nice. Congratulations. That is awesome.
That is so cool. Yeah, it was like kind of a new thing we tried to implement this year, and we weren't really sure exactly how many credits to do. So I'm like, yeah, let's try 100,000. But they hit it.
Yeah, they cleared it.
All right, so
Yeah.
this is
A barn.
one of the barns.
Which is not the most exciting sounding, but I stared at these for many, many hours.
So like what's the primary objective when creating these barns?
Making sure they're open enough for horde gameplay, because a lot of the times they are usually located around or near a horde, because you could technically pull them out of the town from over there and bring it into over here.
Yeah.
But also, finding items and stuff, but it was just very, very fun getting to do small details like painting out the little hay and stuff. We would always make sure to have that everywhere, and then we would paint the intensity, so it's getting more thicker in some spots, less in others as it goes. Pulls away from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, making sure as long as its performance is okay, having these little gaps in between things.
Right.
It's almost like opposite of Wizard Island.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we're not in as much NPC heavy area, so we can kind of have that the extra performance to get these things in.
Chat, real quick. If you want to throw in some game suggestions right now for our bonus stream, please feel free to do so. And Kat, we'll go ahead and collect some of those games so we can kind of start a baseline of games that you all want to play for our bonus stream. So when you were saying you were painting the hay there on the floor, is that like legitimately painting? Like
Essentially like vertex painting. So we most of the hay is actually just a pretty boring flat rectangle mesh that is subdivided a couple of times. So then we would paint, I believe it was the red channel. You have red, green, and blue that you can paint on in Unreal. So then we would paint in the red channel, and it would essentially affect the intensity of the hay and how much was there.
Huh.
So then we would use that to just we use that for a number of things. We use that for the hay. Anytime you see leaves and stuff kind of piled up into, or dirt piled into a corner, it's something that we could actually paint the intensity, and we manually went through and make sure it matched the environment okay.
So the little squeeze hole there. So the squeeze hole there, but you also had the big opening here. Was there objective to that squeeze hole?
I think this barn is used somewhere else where this section is blocked off.
So it's just kind of
that's one of the negatives of if you reuse a building somewhere else, you have to make sure it mostly makes sense in terms of everything. This was a pretty minor thing. It was just you can just let the people
if you want to use it, but if you're standing far from it, it's just there's a crack in the barn, because that makes sense, right? In Days Gone.
And stuff like this was all if you were to if I wish I could have a visual overlay, if you could split this up, you would essentially this kit piece would be a square almost of where this goes, and then we have another piece that cuts off right about there, so you can just almost picture how each part is split up, but then just match up the UVs so that way you don't actually see a seam right here where there's actually two different meshes pushed up together.
Yeah, this barn feels like it should have a horde. Well, as Alex was talking about, they made these barns to where it can horde gameplay can function through them. Because you can drive hordes to different places, and these barns kind of have these big openings where hordes can kind of funnel in, that you can drive them into.
Yeah, and we got a big, very big horde in that town.
Yep,
right
there's a
over
horde
there.
right there in that town.
Or any of the number of open world hordes. I believe when you're driving back with Boozer after he's had his kind of, when you're
Yep.
searching for him and he's a little drunk and stuff, you actually go through this area as you're coming back
Yeah.
through here. So
Yep.
we also need to make sure, the bike can get through this area in case a player takes a short turn and then they're driving through there. So.
Right. Every possibility you have to think about, right? Because you don't know what the player is going to do. You're trying to drive the player to a certain area, but
Yeah, they can still take, they could turn on the road, they could cut through that grass, they
Yep.
could go off of a rock and hit a ramp in
Yeah.
a weird spot. It's all comes together,
right.
and you don't really realize as you're playing through, like, how many different scenarios you could go through in just, like, a single spot.
Yeah. So here's Sherman's camp.
Deacon just wanted to crash into
Yeah.
that.
Oh, and you got an ambush on you.
Like,
I hear him. Oh, yeah, and there's the horde. Part of the horde.
part of the horde. Like, I just wanted to come over here and show one building, and then suddenly
Yeah.
everything's just...
They won't let you. Oh, and you got the ambush here too as well. Because usually there will be an ambush at the end of the road there with a tripwire that you'll have to avoid. Oh, here they come. And here
No
comes
problem.
the horde.
We got a little... He can handle a little
Let's
bit of
do
action.
it. Take out the horde. We got the ammunition. We got the weapons. I don't know if we have too many throwables. Did you have a hand in a lot of these buildings here?
A little bit.
Okay.
Another artist that was on the building team, Dan Quinn, got a lot of the work on these buildings, but I still was able to, like, work on a couple of them, and then I also was, like I said, I was working or playing through really the challenge mode a lot when we were doing that, so that also contributed to some additional, like, changes to the layout that just kind of help it flow a little bit better.
Right. I mean, it's funny because, Oregon is a very big state, and there's really only a couple, like, actual known cities, right? You have Bend, you have Portland, you have the coast. But in Days Gone, you have a couple of these towns that are pretty built up, like Sherman's Camp and Tumult and things like that. And those are kind of the most recognizable to players in games. It's just interesting how it directly relates to Oregon, but you put it because it's always everyone's like, oh, why wasn't there a city in Days Gone? Well, in Oregon, there's not really cities.
Yeah, there's a lot of small towns.
Yeah, and it makes it feel more, I don't know what, raw, homegrown, I guess. Like, it's nicely paced between these bigger kind of set pieces to more of just the smaller building types.
Oh no, we're out of craftables for...
Good night, Yoser. Thanks for stopping by. See you next time.
But this is a good example of a building that we originally had some trouble with because it's in a big horde zone. You also have a nest here where these people are trying to mess you up. But you have a pretty clear path. When you come out through here, you're immediately facing an open window, and when you come in from the window, you're immediately facing essentially your exit opportunity. And that was something that we really made sure to, in any horde area, just making sure that as soon as you enter in a building, you know immediately where you're going to next.
Need an exit plan. Yeah.
And so we would, in horde areas, and intentionally design buildings that are just a little bit more open, a little bit more just like making sure we're holding the player's hand a little bit more to make sure that like they can run through here and they're not going to get stuck, because there's nothing more frustrating than like being chased by a bunch of people and then you run into a corner and then this was a dead end.
Yep.
And then you're stuck there.
What's up, Nate? Welcome back. Glad you're enjoying Helldivers. Nate won a Helldivers code from us last week.
That is awesome. That's something I still need to dive into.
Haha. dive into?
That worked out too well. I didn't even mean.
Hordes give me nightmares. You're welcome.
And then.
All right,
where
so
should we head to next?
logging camp.
Logging camp.
Or no, wait. Actually, it depends.
Actually-
You can do the logging camp and then ambush camp.
Ambush camp. Gotcha.
Yep. So yeah, if you notice today on our social accounts, nice. If you notice today on our social accounts where we do our usual promotion of our stream, you'll see the screenshot is the logging camp. That was done on purpose because we're going to go visit the logging camp because Alex had put some work into that as well. And the logging camp is one of the first missions you have in Days Gone. That you have to clear the nest. It's kind of one of those first tutorial type missions, and learning the mechanics of clearing the freaker nest.
It was also the first POI I worked on. Oh man, hit a line.
Oh, sniper.
But yeah, the logging camp was the first POI I worked on after I had did a couple of prompts and stuff when I was first hired on, and this was like the first space where it's like, okay, this is kind of like you can own this little bit of an area.
Which is awesome because it's like one of the nice. It was like one of the very first missions too. And if you don't know, POI is kind of the short points of interest.
Yes, point of interest.
It's kind of the game developer slang of shorten these areas that either are mission related or something to draw the player in to an objective. POI's points of interest is something we've talked about on our Bend at Night video series for a couple times as well. It's definitely a thing that's always being talked about in game development.
And they messed up my bike. Now I'm all...
Aurora missed 90. I stopped playing Baldur's Gate to watch this stream. Hey, that's praise right there. Respect. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Peace Soakers beat the game only like 10 times.
Only 10?
Only 10. Come back when you've beat it 15 times, okay? Yeah, so we've had a nice little virtual tour of Days Gone tonight.
Yeah, this has been good.
Yeah, we started at the Crater Lake area and kind of went through the Diamond Lake area, going through Lost Lake, now going through kind of like the Cascades, which is honestly one of my favorites, just because kind of the lush green everywhere and the pine trees.
And it's definitely the more skilled region to try to ride through with like a high leveled up bike.
Yes, right.
It makes it very, very fun and intense.
Oh, sniper.
He is
what's he shooting
distracted
at?
by someone else.
Yeah, he is. Ooh, I love that where they just kind of start crawling back, like, don't hurt me.
Makes you feel a little bad, but it's like,
It does.
you were shooting first.
Yeah. Okay, so logging camp. Like we said earlier, first couple missions, teaching you the mechanic of burning out freaker nest, and Alex was able to work on this. So kind of go through this whole area with us.
Yeah, let me pull up the map first and kind of zoom in. Yeah, this is just a very early POI of the game. It was before even the mission was fully in. We were just like, what are some areas that would be fun to run through and have gameplay in?
Right.
So it's definitely a very small little area, but did a lot of research in like logging camps here in Oregon and just trying to figure out how they're laid out, how they clear out the areas that are like directly near them too, and creating all these small little buildings for them to either live in, because some would have things where people would actually like live on site for a while and then they would like move back after they're done with their work for the season or whatever. So you get things like these little beds stacked up and everything, and just generally want a very more rustic, older kind of look, more like logging camp from like the 70s or 80s almost.
Which, if you don't know, Bend was actually a logging town. It's kind of how it became Bend. And if you look at our Ben Studio logo, the full version with the Ben Studio text, in the I in Studio, there's a little slit there to actually represent the kind of Ben's roots of being a logging town. So yeah, logging camp in this, you had the old sawmill. Logging it's a big thing here.
Yeah. One of the fun things about the log camp and this being an early area is you get a good representation. This one's already burned, but just of like our burning of the nests in Days Gone, which is a big thing. Which is something I hadn't thought to even touch on yet, but was very much a different process of setting up a building that has a nest in it versus like creating a regular building.
Oh yeah. So what's like the huge difference there?
This one's kind of an exception where the whole thing believe had a nest, so the whole thing looks pretty burned.
Right.
But like in this building, kind of back here, there's only like a corner of it. That is the nest. So what we essentially would have to do is make the building like we would normally, and then we would determine, but usually with the help of design and stuff, like where the nest was going to go if it was in a building.
Right.
So then we would have to actually cut this section of the building off. And then it had its own like logic and everything with the nest that was hooked up. So we had a normal building stuff and then separate building pieces with similar materials, but they had a separate burn material on there where we actually have to paint in like where all the burn material goes to and where their nest kind of like gunk and residue is.
Yeah. It's super interesting.
So like this building had a couple of nests, so this building's actually broken up into a couple of different bigger chunks because of, this being burned and then there being no burn stuff like on this side.
Yeah.
Over here. And so every nest building that has that kind of setup.
So for this building in particular, like how do you go about laying out these nests? Because, there are multiples in this one building. Is there a certain like distance you feel is good to lay them out, or are you just kind of like, we're going to put one here, put one over here?
Yeah, it depends on what the gameplay wants from the designer. Like in this case in particular, it's a very, not super tight, but tight enough to where if you go around and you like just start tossing Molotovs, especially because it's your first time doing this, you might not realize how many people are coming out from there. So yeah, you get the freakers coming out, and it creates a much more intense kind of situation versus one where they're more like spread out.
Ant Money says nest clearing was fun. It is, and it also opens up your fast travel path as well. So clear out those nests if you're playing.
And big signals like that too were also like decals placed around windows and doors to kind of just make sure the player can see from a distance, like, oh, that's like different from normal grime and wear and stuff. Cause, it can all can potentially blur together if you're not being careful.
Right. Oh, Screamer. And she's gone.
Just extra, just in case.
Just in case. Don't need to be bringing in a horde over here now.
But yeah, so we got to like, this building is made with a separate, like there's a whole separate warehouse kit building that was just for warehouse pieces and stuff because they don't you can't really mix and match warehouse with like a regular house kit building piece or the hunting cabins. But yeah, the big spot in here is just making sure, also too, like there's not a horde directly at this camp, but you can get a decent amount of freaks, and you can also pull some other hordes here. So you can kind of see like how we intentionally are just kind of creating almost like lanes, the different lanes the players can run through to just help guide them as they're running, turning around, needing to shoot back at the horde.
It can test you too your first time playing this level, because there's five nests?
Yeah, there's five nests, and then you also can potentially have humans here running around too. So it's a lot to kind of take in as your first kind of open world mission.
Yeah. Oh, there's a Ranger Bear.
Speak of the devil. The world doesn't stop coming for you.
No, never. One thing I've learned about doing this Breaking Down Days Gone series, we can just never just have a peaceful moment. They always want to come in and take over our stream. But Ranger Bears are so cool, though. Okay, he's a toughie, especially in survival. Yeah, there you go. Can't get us now.
Just go over there.
He's tough.
And that's the thing too. We have things like the bear, so we need to make sure there's like holes in fences and stuff like that. So if
yeah.
you're being chased by something like that, you have little sections to get away where you can like create some distance because you can't quite fit through there.
Yep.
Where did he go? That's scary.
Oh, there he is. Behind the track. Oh, he's standing up. Damn. Nope, still alive. Oh no! If you can line up the triangle, you got him. Ah,
Before is a
it's
little too
hard.
after.
Yeah.
That one's the hardest one, for sure.
I love these fights for the bears, though. It's man, they're so difficult on survival difficulty. He is just he wants your lunch. Ah, no!
So close. Come on, we're doing a nice friendly tour.
Yeah, like, geez, leave us alone. There we go.
There we go.
Jeez. We got him.
Considering we've taken out a horde and a bear and we were not prepared for this.
Exactly,
I just wanna say I'm
right? Yeah.
very proud of us for that.
Someone said, I think the world comes for you more after the story is done. Is that true at all?
I do think they increase the ambient spawns.
Yeah.
To, like start going up
Yep.
just to make things, a little more interesting since you're not going to have
Yeah.
as many story stuff going on.
Because, you don't get introduced for the Reacher until later in the game. And then once the Reacher comes on board, look at that fog. That looks beautiful. Once the Reacher comes on board, then you start seeing more of him as well.
Random tidbit too. I didn't work exactly on these, but there's a lot of work done on these little stumps around our clear cut areas because they're low lined. They kind of get, you miss them between the grass and stuff, but they're also, you don't want the bike to get completely stuck on them. So their collision had to be modified, especially just to make sure, the player's not getting frustrated when driving through these clearings, 'cause especially after you level up the bike, you could just go blasting through these areas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Might not be the most realistic, but it makes it more fun to play and less frustrating.
Yep.
Should probably head over to Cascade Radio Tower, which is not too far.
Left underneath the triangle. Yep, down.
There we
go, right there.
So I was like, which one is
Yep.
that?
So we're
That's
gonna.
the first one, right?
Yeah,
You do.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the first ambush you actually take on. You actually have to climb up that tower, and the Metal Gear tower where you climb up the ladder.
The ladder boss battle.
Yep. Then I actually, prior to Bend, made an edit of a loop of that and had the Snake Eater music playing on the background.
Perfect.
I gotta find that again. I was very happy with myself with that. So we're heading to the Cascade Radio Tower ambush camp. Like we were just saying, it's the first ambush camp you actually take on early in the story. And we're going to kind of piggyback off of the Breaking Down Days Gone episode with Philip Wilson last month, as we talked a lot about ambush camps and layouts and things of that nature. But Alex also had put his hands in the ambush camps, more specifically the bunkers, that we'll just kind of skim through. Because did you know it's already 6:32?
Oh man, time is going by quick.
Right. What's up, Gabe Logan? How are you doing? Welcome back. So yeah, we'll do a quick this, then we'll go to Marion Forks. I think there's some good stuff there. Kat, if there's any questions from chat, please go ahead and forward those to me now. So yeah,
Grab some
thank
ammo
you.
and walk up there. Bike's busted.
Oh
yeah,
no.
I could talk Days Gone all day, so this is just been flying
I'm
by
right
quick.
with you. Oh, everyone wants to know, Kevin, did you get the platinum in Diablo 4? I'm glad you asked. Yes, I did get the platinum in Diablo 4. All right, so ambush camp here. And every ambush camp comes with a bunker. So what did you do here?
Well, first, since we're just staring at it, we had to create a special floor kit piece of just for some of these bunkers that are inside buildings, so we have to have a special floor that's cut out just for that. Did the hatches and just pretty much the whole layout. I was given a lot of free range, some general kind of reference of like, we want something underground kind of bunkers. There's a few different concepts we went through. Like there's some reference. Some people have used like school buses and stuff to kind of create their own homemade bunkers, which we were thinking about that, but it was a little bit still too narrow for what like the gameplay of walking around and having stuff put in there. So we ended up going with storage containers and a mixture of those, and these are they're like, I forget the exact name of them, but they're just more like cylindrical storage containers that they use underground for like sewage and stuff like that as well. And just, trying to make them have a bit more of a like, they weren't maybe, built by a government or anything. It was more of people just like kind of digging these down in their own like backyard, trying to,
survivalist
type people that wanted to build their own things. Ooh, can use that to fix up the bike. It was very fun creating little miniature things to walk around. It was a challenge of trying to just like, make sure it looks livable, have some of these things like, hey, there's a shower. I created.
Is that the shower curtain you did?
Yeah.
Also, that's like the third different pattern in shower curtains. I've not seen the same one yet.
Yeah, I think there's like
Impressive.
four or five, which is nice. Nice that I was able to get away with that much detail. I think in a screenshot we showed earlier, there's actually an early version of this door I was working on with in one of those bunkers that didn't have that like green on there yet, and some of this other.
Well, yeah, let's pull to that real quick. We actually have a work in progress layout here.
Yeah.
Of that a door in the ambush camp.
You can see, like, there's definitely all the major forms are there, but we didn't have as much of the texture detail on there and stuff. But
yeah,
it ended up not being animated, but I made sure that like if you were to pull this bar down, all of these things would actually rotate appropriately. So if you were to close this up, all those things would come up over this little lip, so it becomes essentially locked in, and people can't.
So were they at one point supposed to animate and open?
That was just more something on me of like, I want to make something that looks really cool, and in case they want to animate it, they can.
Yeah.
Ended up just being something. These ended up just being like static because we didn't want to.
Okay.
Just felt too cumbersome going into these like tighter spaces and also interacting with the door. It makes sense for real life, but once you're in a game and you have your third person camera, it can just be a little bit hard.
That's cool though.
But I still like it was fun doing all those little small details. And even if, it's not used, it's nice knowing in my head, like, hey, this would work.
Exactly, right. I think that's just part of game development, right? Is like you're putting these things in your head that maybe don't always get completely communicated to the player, but because all that makes sense, it creates that immersion for the player.
Grab some of this stuff to fix.
Yeah, we need supplies, don't we? Probably need some fuel. Yeah, and so you can see those bunkers, those big doors, pretty much at every ambush camp. Once you clear out the ambush camp, you go into the bunker, you get the map. That map opens up other locations of ambush camps, I believe. It's been a while. Yeah. And like some rewards too. Like the first one, you learn how to craft a baseball bat. I think there are others. You might get like a new throwable or something, I believe you can craft. It's like crafting recipes, I believe, is what you get.
Yeah, and then you're also, you're getting another fast travel location, which is also good.
Yep.
As long as you've cleared out the hordes and the path is, safe to travel.
What's up, crazy man? Welcome back to the stream. Nice to see you here. Zach Plays, hello. Yes, and I'm very excited that you're looking forward to it. If you all missed it, we do have Resistance Retribution, one of our legacy titles, coming to PlayStation Plus on this Tuesday. It's one of the ones that players have been really wanting to play. It was released in 2009 on the PlayStation Portable, PSP. And now you're going to be able to play it on your PS4 or PS5. And there's trophy support. Yes, there's a platinum involved. And yeah, it's going to be on PS Plus in the classic catalog But if you don't have PS Plus, you will be able to buy it separately, just like you can with our other Siphon Filter games. So I hope you have fun. Not Sam Whitwer is here in chat. Says I love this game so much. Not Sam Whitwer.
How do we know? That could be what's throwing us off.
Exactly, right? Now you're thinking, is it Sam Whitwer?
It's like, 'cause if I was, I would say I'm not. Just that way people don't know.
Only reason I know it's not is because Sam Whitwer does have a pretty good Twitch channel. That he used to stream Days Gone all the time. It was great to watch.
Ooh. Oh, I got it. Cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so now we're in the Marion Forks area.
Forks area, right outside Marion Forks.
Yep, more barns.
So I'll show you, additional barns. This one is just a little quick tidbit, is loosely inspired by a barn in The Evil Within. They had a couple of very good playing barns. So
nice.
I want to do
Yeah.
a layout kind of like that. So it's not exactly the same, but it was still kind of inspired
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
by some of those early barns you run through in that game.
That's, game developers will always get inspiration from other games, right? It's like you kind of look at Days Gone, you see a little bit of the Red Dead Redemption. You might even see a little bit of, what else? Horizon a little bit. But now I'm thinking, did Horizon come out after Days Gone? No, it came out before Days Gone.
Yeah, it came out a little bit before.
Yeah, so you kind of had that open world loop there. Okay, Alex, who was in charge of the big Hungry Jim statue?
Big Hungry Jim statue was actually outsourced.
Really? Interesting.
I believe we had a nice block out that a character artist did.
Okay.
So that was one of the...
Like, look, it's me.
Yeah, oh my.
Yeah.
That is just you. That is you right now.
Guys, I'm on TV. Look at that.
That's Kevin.
That's me.
Just need to get you some pancakes.
Yep. I'm going to go get some of those green pants with the suspenders. I do really like pancakes. We make pancakes every Sunday morning. I make pancakes every Sunday morning for my family. Huh. Look at that.
Now I want pancakes.
Yeah.
Sounds really good.
I am hungry.
So in terms of Marion Forks buildings, this was a collaborative effort. All three of us kind of worked on this space at once.
Okay.
One of the big things I worked on was the church. I did technically do more of the pre-burned down church. Oh, you're not getting me, freak.
Ooh.
Dylan Rainville did the post-burned down version, but essentially a lot of the still layout and stuff I did still the same. A lot of it was based off of framing the cutscene where you see Deacon and Sarah getting married. So that was pretty much the basis of make this cutscene work good and work backwards from there, essentially. So then we got, the pews do change the layout a little bit because you have the people within the fight, and what you have in there that was not, there's no combat really much in there prior to the burning down.
Yep. Yeah, so since this is post-story, this church at one point does look nice and not burned down.
Well, this is one of the rare times where we actually swapped out the kits entirely. So we are using some of the normal church pieces, and then we had a separate, essentially burned down, destroyed building kit that we used for the back half over here. That was able to combine pretty well, neatly into our existing church pieces.
What's up, Brom606? Welcome back to the stream. How are you doing?
But my favorite building in Marion Forks is actually the Old Wagon Hotel.
Oh, yeah?
Which I don't think I had even mentioned it to you before. But no, this building and the building next to I spent probably the most time on in Marion.
Really?
Forks. Man,
they just don't stop.
Oh, come on. That was right on the line.
It's a nice vending machine right there. Oh! Did you mean to hit that fuel?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
But this is just a fun building just because of another person. The amount of material breakup you get on it, half it's supposed to be, a more western-y kind of style. Cheeky building where it's just got a little nice bar area. That's also nice for gameplay. door. There was supposed to be some saloon doors here, but those unfortunately had to be cut out. There was some weird bugs with the physics issues of
Like
them
swinging back and
swinging
forth.
back and forth. They
Yeah.
could get like, you could technically walk into it and it would like swing back around into the door and
Oh, that makes
some
sense.
weird stuff. But I always like the little puzzle in here as well, where you can, these are locked. You can't normally get into here, but if you go around to the back, you can sneak your way into those rooms and get some extra loot, some more ammo.
Yeah, look at that. This building reminds me of just the town of Sisters, which is about 20 minutes away from here. It's such a kind of cute little town that's old Western themed.
Yeah, that's where we took a lot of our inspiration.
That's awesome.
That. Yeah, so you go in here and then you get all your nice health and grenades. So some people might not have known about that as they're going through.
Yeah, look at that.
And then, of course, once you're in this room, you can then unlock that door from this side, and
there you go.
then it becomes accessible from both.
Pro tip right there, everyone.
This is also where I got to do some bit more texture work. I got to do the various wallpapers that you see in some of the hotels and motels.
Yeah.
So I got to do this little design and a bit of the grunge and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. How do you come up with that design?
Just researching other wallpapers and stuff, and then just kind of trying out stuff that works. There's a lot of drinking monsters and staring at us.
Yeah.
At Photoshop at the time. And yeah, as you'll notice too, most of our windows, I don't think I mentioned it, had glass that is broken out. It's because breakable glass in an open world is very expensive. We could only do that in a few spots. So we did have to go through, we manually painted, we essentially get a glass pane, and we would paint out where we want the glass to be broken, so that way it could look different between each.
Another one behind you.
They just really, really like me today.
Yeah, they do. Oh, look at that.
This building also has some goodies too. There's my lovely shower. There's another shower I don't think we've even ran by yet. I had to base it off of the shower in my first apartment when I moved to Bend.
No way.
Which was, so it's just like, well, I need some reference, and there's a shower right here, so I might as well just make that.
That's cool. I don't think people realize how much just like developers will put of themselves in their game when it's like comes to your apartment shower, right?
Yeah. This was just supposed to be like kind of, generic is government, like local office kind of buildings.
Okay.
There's a post office in the next building over. That's also kind of. Oh, I'm so sorry, Deacon. That one's locked from the inside. But she just got a lot of office stuff. Just pretty much needed some buildings to have NPCs be able to take over and have a lot of room for combat and things like that. But we're still able to fit some unique details, like having the little sorting boxes and.
Yeah. I mean, if there's one thing you all learned today is, like, go through some of these buildings. There's a lot through here. Like, there's a lot of detail put into each building.
Mm-hmm. This was a quick kit that came on near the end of the game when we actually needed some additional combat areas.
Okay.
So this was probably only a couple months before we shipped. We started adding in some of these things where we essentially took a lot of our older buildings and then just like destroyed them, so that way you could have really easily navigatable just combat spaces where it's like you're still technically within valid cover right here, and then this becomes like side cover, but you still get some nice, it's not just like a flat boring combat area. So there's some work done just to make sure it like just flares it up a little bit. Not so flat,
and I think
so boring.
You actually start a bounty mission here.
Yes.
That you examine right around here, and then you have to go chase them down. But see, like game development, that was put in two months before launch. Like, you never stop working on the game. Really, you just kind of run out of time.
Yes, very much. Made this little doggy.
Oh, nice.
Which it was made originally for like the cutscene where like it's near Boozer and Deacon's house on Iron Mike's, because that's where like their puppy is kind of staying too. We were able to just take our existing building pieces and then we just cut it up very, very small. Made a tiny little doggy house, and then we were able to populate that throughout other places too. And over here at Lisa's house.
Yep. So if you remember, this is the mission when you first meet Lisa, and she's kind of scared and hidden away.
Yeah. Just a little detail I didn't point out before, but a lot of our
shooting
buildings.
star.
Oh yeah, nice spot. A lot of our buildings have like modeled out wooden boards. Sometimes, like you could also do like a flat normal map of just mimicking that detail, because most people just walk by. But as like photo modes and more stuff are getting more popular, it's really important to have. Like,
Yeah.
just having all these details
Yep.
modeled in.
I think you nailed it, right? Having these super tiny details is very important, because with the popularity of photo mode, players are going to catch that, right? Whether they catch it on purpose or not, like it's going to be in these images.
And so it's a win-win for everyone. Like when people post their screenshots are going to look awesome, and then the artists also don't have to be like, oh no, the camera got
Yeah.
too close to
Right.
whatever prompt.
Yep.
Now it looks bad. But, so it's like at least as you're getting more higher poly,
Yep.
everything's going to look real nice.
Gabe Logan says, I love this game so much.
Thank you, Gabe.
You're awesome, Gabe. Did Lisa board up her house? I think Lisa did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She had quite the journey in Days Gone. I took so many in-game picks. Lady in Red, I'm right there with you. Still taking them.
This is a beautiful, beautiful game.
It really is.
But yeah, it just kind of goes to show like how much work goes into in a small town like this. You have
Yep.
a lot of variety of buildings. Got a little bookstore over here, which still has a nest.
Oh yeah, look at that.
You. So if we're careful, you can actually start to see as it burns and everything. You'll see like the little darkness kind of get a little bit over and just slowly start to envelop the area.
Oh, okay.
And of course, freaks coming out, which is
Oh, where'd that one come from? Oh, there's one behind you. They're coming through the window.
through the window.
Oh, now you're getting surrounded. Oh, now yep, they're coming through like every area there is. Go, go,
I
go.
just wanted to stand and stare at the fire.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, we didn't get to see it happen, but you would
But-
only see that transition
Yep.
of like, and that all has to be manually painted by the environment artist.
Oh, that's
and-
cool. Then you get your little nest residue there.
And all the poor merchandise on the inside. No
Yep.
longer usable. And I think for our last stop, we wanted to go by the sawmill.
Yeah. So what's up, Sam? Like streaming? How are you? Yeah, SMP9 is also my favorite sidearm. It's good, and you have to kill the first 4 hordes, and you can get it fairly early on to help your journey.
Where did the sawmill go?
Right.
Oh yes.
Yep.
It's like down here. I was thinking
Yep.
I was all the way in. Lost Lake.
Shank, I play on PC and PS5. I play on both with Days Gone. I have Days Gone like downloaded everywhere. So yeah. So now we're going to go to our last spot here of our virtual Days Gone tour, and we're going to finish up at the old sawmill, which shouldn't be a horde there, so we won't have to worry about that. But kind of show the last piece that Alex worked on, and something I just found out a couple days ago by one of our most dedicated photo mode artists out there, Sarah.
Yes, her photos are amazing. They're
Oh,
always,
yeah.
always so framed so well.
Daily shots, man. I could see daily. Like she's surpassed me at this point. She so many. It's impressive.
Seriously, it makes my day better because I'll just like log on Instagram or Twitter and then just scroll through and I'm like, oh hey, more Days Gone shots.
Yep.
Who posted this?
It's
always
great.
there.
Yeah, our bike is on its last leg right now. It needs some repairs.
Yeah, need some love a little bit.
So, Alex, I think I got a question here for you while we're going through
Yeah.
this.
Fire away.
Let me see. You entered the wrong password. Because it doesn't want to recognize my face either.
Did your face morph in between streams?
Okay. This is from Nader5. He was here earlier. Also, he's done a lot of Days Gone fan art for us. Hi, Alex. Were all props inside and near buildings placed manually?
Yes. Well, 99% of the props. Anything
Okay.
that's big. There's like some small things like trash and cans and stuff. We would actually have a blueprint, which is essentially in Unreal. You use blueprints. It's like a visual scripting thing where you can make your own custom like little assets and stuff.
Yep.
So we would have a volume that we could scale up and down, and then you could pick what assets you wanted within that volume. So we could pick like cans or trash, cardboard and stuff, and then you would hit a simulate button, and it would detect the collision of essentially anywhere within that volume, and it would place and scatter all the trash. So any of the like really small details we didn't have to do manually because that did get tedious. But
Right.
I'm like, I went to
Oh,
a
wrong
dead
way.
end. I thought I could fly off that ledge.
All right, next question. From B Freshness. What was your favorite part working on the game? And what was the most difficult part working on the game?
Most difficult was an area we didn't really drive by yet was probably the dam that gets blown up
At the Ripper compound?
at the Ripper compound. Because that one it required the pre-state where, you're protecting Boozer and just like the general open world time, and then you have the exploded higher flood state, and then there's, after a while, the flood lowers a little bit so that we can explore some of that area.
Yep.
So it did have to have 3 different states of like props and assets that were like had like moved or shifted because of the water.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was just kind of a lot to manage because each of those also have separate nav mesh that could, the player could have trouble walking in one spot on
Yeah.
pre, and then on post they're not having or they
Right.
are having an issue there. So it was definitely a very, very fun but challenging area. My favorite spot was probably Cloverdale just because it's a combat area. Got to replay that a
Oh,
lot.
yeah, yeah. And we explored quite a bit of the Cloverdale area last time, which was really awesome, seeing all the details in there. What else we here? SSS Suzid is what we're going with. Are there any facilities similar to Cloverdale in Oregon? Use any references for that?
I don't know if there's any particular. There is a Cloverdale, it's like a small town, I think, technically, or
Oh, really?
a couple.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there is a Cloverdale, Oregon, but there's not a research facility there. We just kind of, generic kind of sciencey lab kind of research for that on Google
Yeah.
Images of trying to find other spots that do have like facilities that might be more private like that. But unfortunately, a lot of places that do research like that don't usually like posting their pictures online
Yeah.
a lot. So it's like,
So pretty much in a very original building.
yeah. Oh, poor Deacon. Well, we made it to the sawmill, so
So close. Dead Bun has. Is there still any Easter eggs people haven't found yet? I don't believe so.
now I think they've all pretty much been
Yeah.
all been found at this point.
Days Gone what didn't heavily involve Easter eggs. And it was more of they were the very obvious ones, like fuel tanks, there's God of War, there's Death Stranding. There's a couple siphon filter things like with the sniper rifle on the back of his back right now, or the taser gun, which you have to go ahead and collect all 9 pieces of the IPCA tech throughout open world to unlock to and then craft the stun gun. Then the siphon filter Cloverdale file at Cloverdale. So yeah, I think there's some fun ones. Like there are a couple developers with their initials and their birth date on the back of car license plates.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had one. Did you have one of those?
Yeah.
You do?
I have one of those, and then
Okay.
like the signatures in the community college too.
Yep.
There's all.
And the signatures on the big whiteboard. That's part of the story.
But yeah, the sawmill is a fun one. A lot of people worked on this area, so I did do some layout and stuff. And it originally started with the barn kit, and then it got modified into its own separate kit just so that way it had more damage, was more unique looking.
Yep.
But since it's snowing outside, one thing we didn't get to talk about was like wetness and snow too. With all these kit pieces, it's not a dynamic thing for determining what's wet and dry. We actually had to make sure like exterior walls were painted a certain wetness color in Unreal, so that way that shows up wet, the inside shows up dry.
Yeah.
And then if there's anything like a hole in the roof or something, we would have to, on the final building, we would paint like the spots of where the wetness should show up. So it's just a little something that a lot of people don't usually think about when they're playing through the game. So it's like, oh, it got wetter. It has like snow on it now, but that's definitely a very intentional, like,
yeah,
we have to make sure that snow goes where it needs to be going.
And the snow piles up over time. It'll pile up on dead bodies. It goes on Deacon, as you can see. And such a cool little detail that you don't really see much of in other games where it actually stays on the character.
And yeah, this little fun thing was something I really loved working on for the E3 demo because, you know, it ends with Deacon being chased by the Horde, shooting up at them as the camera pans out. And it was the first time anything I had worked on, you know, was going to be showcased at E3, so I was very anxious, but I think it turned out okay. It definitely looks very wobbly, unused.
Yeah, but I mean, that's so cool. Like, this is what I didn't know about until a couple of days ago, that Alex actually worked on this part, and it's just such an iconic part. The sawmill is iconic, but this part in general is like, when you talk about the old sawmill, this is kind of what you're thinking about, because all those freakers are funneling down while Deacon's kind of doing his last stand there.
And yeah, usually this little thing here, that I believe this was based off of like a grain feeder or something, so like there technically here this would probably be for like wood chips and stuff like that would be going through this pipe and then into there.
Yeah.
Same with this guy over here where they burned up all the bodies. That's called a beehive burner that they actually have, or they're also known as wigwam burners as well, because they kind of look like Native American kind of things. And they're used mostly in Oregon. They were used for like burning extra like wood and stuff when they're doing their logging, but unfortunately they're using it to burn freaks in our world now. So this is a very fun little like object I got to work on there. It's not a lot of gameplay going around it, but it's still something that you definitely can identify from far away.
Yeah, that's cool.
Helps give the sawmill a bit of its identity a bit.
Right. Well, does that end our virtual tour?
I think so. We've hit a lot of good spots.
We hit all the points. It's actually 7 o'clock, which we talked for a very long time. We got one final question here for you, Alex, as we kind of go back to the full screen here. What happens after you finish and release a game? Do you take a break? Do you keep working on bugs and updates?
Well, for Days Gone in particular, we still had, the challenge mode DLCs and stuff that were coming out later. So there's some additional work that went into there. Like, the bike ones have like the unique ramps, objects and stuff. And the Horde modes, we had to make some environment changes to make sure that works out okay. But no, it's mostly just, a little bit of a break and then working on the next project and stuff like that.
It depends on what type of game you're making and what type of support is being provided, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your role.
Because certainly it wasn't like every artist needed to be still working on like the additional DLC stuff. So it's like, if you have something that can be changed or upgraded and stuff,
Yep.
But if not, I believe we also did like some internal game jams and stuff that were all fun where people just got to, make some fun stuff together. So.
Right. Well, everyone, that concludes part 4 of our Breaking Down Days Gone live stream series. We still have 2 more to go. Nice. We have one in next month in March, and then we'll have the final one in April that actually lands on Days Gone's 5th anniversary, coincidentally enough. And both of the final 2 live streams will have 2 brand new faces that have also never been on stream.
That's
so
awesome.
We're going to have 3 back-to-backs in a row with this. But yeah, April 26th will be the very last one of this live stream series. But if you missed any of these, you can find all of them on the Breaking Down Days Gone playlist on youtube.com/benstudio. Alex, this was very informative.
Yeah, this was fun.
This was awesome. Thank you so much. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
I learned a lot. Like pretty much what I say at the end of almost every Bend at Night episode. I'm like, thank you for teaching me, everyone. I hope you all learned a lot. There's really some cool nuggets and stuff that Alex shared. Some cool little dev tips that, hey, go and play for yourself. And like the old wagon building, right? Go around, go get some loot, and then go through the door.
One last thing I do want to bring up really quick. There's a building in Iron Mike's little area, the church, where you essentially where Deacon actually has there's a hostage that you have to shoot in there in one mission. If you go there before, during that hostage, and then after, there's a bathroom to the right. There is actually toilet paper and other props that change the amount depending on what state the world's in.
No way.
I don't think anyone's ever mentioned that on Reddit as like Easter eggs and stuff. So like it shows like toilet paper growing, and then like people using it gets smaller. Some stuff's moved around. It's only
that's wild.
It's only a couple of buildings and stuff, but there's a few places where there's state changes where things will move around. I just wanted to bring that up before we logged off.
The more you know. You know.
Yeah. And thank you, chat, for having me. I'm glad.
Yeah,
glad everyone liked it.
Thank you, chat, for being so friendly and kind to Alex here, and really happy that you all joined us for this awesome talk we had. We have a 3-day weekend now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go leave, grab some food, and enjoy the weekend. But Tuesday, Resistance Retribution hits PlayStation Plus. Another Bend Studio Classic game coming right at you with trophy support. And then next week on Friday, we will see you right here, same time, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, right here on twitch.tv/BendStudio. And we're going to start a brand new playthrough of Resistance Retribution. So join us for another Bend Studio game as we go from Days Gone to Resistance. So
Nice.
Fun time.
That's going to be great.
All right, everyone. Have a great weekend. Play some games. Go explore virtual worlds and real worlds. And we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, chat.